is Jeannie, and thank you for joining my channel today. Today I'm going to talk about a brand new eyeshadow palette that has been launched by NARS as part of their Chinese New Year launch and collection. I did buy 2 pieces to this launch, and I will be testing out both of them in front of you. This is really not a first impressions. I had to dip into it, and I found it was so beautiful and I loved it, and so I did dip into it prior. I would really love if you would be so inclined to subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe button. It'll be located, I believe, on the left side of the screen. On my left, your right side of the screen, and go ahead and hit the bell so when I upload that you're made aware that I've uploaded something. I am 53 years old. I have got combination skin, and these days it's more towards the dry side, and I'm trying to do beauty for women 45 and older to see what works for us and what doesn't work for us. So if you like what you're seeing, just kind of jump right in and let's do this video. This is the NARS Chinese New Year collection. This is part of it. This is the first thing I'm going to talk about. This is the eyeshadow palette. This eyeshadow palette retails for $59 in Sephora and NARS, and I'm not sure if it's going to be at the NARS counter in Nordstrom's, but it looks like it might be. It's called the Afterglow eyeshadow palette. It's a warm palette with 12 shades. It's got mattes, shimmers, I believe it's duochrome, and I think it's absolutely stunning. You know, it's so funny. I wasn't going to get this when it first launched, and then I thought, I really like it. I mean, I saw somebody else wearing it, and I thought it was absolutely beautiful. I feel like it's got, you know, enough colors that you can do some very different looks, and I love that. So I've already primed my eyes. I've got everything set up. I'm going to start with this eyeshadow palette. The first color I'm going to apply is the color on the top. I think it's First Taste is what it's called. Okay, so I'm going to apply that with a Sonia G blender brush all over my lid and my eye. Not my eye, but the top of my eye. This is really pretty. So this, you know, you can use as a brow inner corner. You can use this color right here. You can use that for all over the lid, all over the eye. It is very much, it's like a satin shimmer, but it's not super shimmery, but it's not matte either. But you can see it's super, super pretty. I really like it. I just had to put my computer top down, sorry. So yeah, anyhow, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with the transition shade next to that, and it's the brown one, and I think it's called Shadow Hill, and it's this one right here. I am going to go in with my crease brush. This is also Sonia G crease brush. Sonia G, it's my first time trying out her, oh my gosh, it's really pigmented. I had no idea it was going to be that pigmented. Anyhow, her brushes are really nice. My eyes get irritated with everything, and I feel like her brushes don't irritate my eyes at all. So, I really like them. Okay, so going in the crease, and I'm just going to blend it out a bit. I'm going to go in with the blender brush, and I'm just kind of blend it out just a little bit here. It's very pigmented, so there we go. Alright, so really nice in the crease. It's like a brown shade. This is a matte. I am going to add a little more to the inside and through this area here. So I'm barely going to touch it because, gosh, I barely touched it before. I'm going to tap it off. And I'm going to put it into the crease again and just make sure it's where it needs to be. Okay. So, I have the first shade on. I am going to go in with, I am going to eventually go in with this warm shade here because it's super pretty. This one, But I'm going to go in with this one right now, this darker shade at the end. Actually, I take that back. I am going to go in with this shade right here to add a little bit of warmth to the crease. It's a really pretty color. I'm also, at the end of this video, I'm going to do some comparisons to another palette I have that I feel is not completely similar. However, I feel like you can get close to the same look with it. And so, you know, if you have that palette, I don't know if you want to go and buy this palette. Like I said, they're not exactly the same, but they're close. So, okay, I like the way this is looking. What I'd like to do is I am going to grab some of this light shade here, and I'm going to put that just kind of on top of the other that I laid down when we first started this, just to bring some warmth to it, because I really like the way these warm colors, the way they look. I think they're super pretty. I think this would be super pretty for a, you know, bronzy kind of summery look. You know, I could see somebody wearing this. So I'm gonna add a little more. I'm tapping off because it seems like these are super pigmented. I mean, NARS does have nice shadows. Like I said, I didn't expect to love this one, but I really do like this palette. Okay, so I went ahead and I put that on top, and I think it really does bring a little bit of warmth. It looks really heavy in the monitor, so I'm going to blend it out. I don't know, I feel like it may have gotten a little muddy in here, and I'm not really sure why, but it could be just that it's grabbing funny for me, but we'll see. Okay, all right, now I'm going to go into the palette with my finger, and I'm going to grab I'm going to grab this kind of peachy shade right here. I just want to see what that will look like on the eyelid, because I'm going to be putting something over it. And sometimes it's nice just to use your finger to pat down these shadows. Okay, now on top of that, I am going to put some of the So Pretty. I think I'm going to put some of this gold. It's right here. I'm going to put some of that gold. And I'm just going to kind of layer this up. This is kind of a, I feel like it's a little bit of a duochrome, but it looks really pretty over the pink. Okay, and I am going to add, let me see, isn't that crazy? With all this lighting, I feel like I can't see, but I've been having horrible problems with my eyes. So I think I'm just going to stop there with that, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the color I started with underneath my lash line. And I don't love going right up against my lash line, because I really do have a sensitivity, and for some reason when I get close to the lash line, the sensitivity comes up. So I go a little bit below the lash line for this. Just a little more. Again, tap off because it's very pigmented, but it's very pretty. Okay. Looks a little messy, but I can clean it up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the inner corner with the first color that I used, and I'm just going to use that to kind of highlight in through the inner corner. I'm also going to use it a little bit in the middle here, because when you do that, it tends to open up the eye more, and I do want to open up the eye more. So, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and blend this some more. I feel like it's really heavy. Okay, I'm going to add a little more warmth to it. A little more of that mustard yellow color. Yeah, that's really pretty. I really like that color a lot. And I'm going to add some of that color to the bottom as well. I don't know how this is going to look, but here goes nothing. Just to kind of lighten it up. Okay. Let's see, I think I'm going to apply some of the darkest brown in here, and I'm going to bring it kind of up against the lash line a bit. And I'm going to pat it on ever so gently to the outer portion of my eye here to create a little bit of a gradient. Okay. I don't know why, but I feel like my lights aren't doing me justice. Let's see this. You know, when you do this, you have to have lights everywhere, and I feel like sometimes they don't really work the way they're supposed to. But it's probably operator error. Okay, I'm just gonna add, I haven't done my brows yet. I'm gonna do my brows after, and I'm going to finish my other eye off camera and my other makeup off camera, and then I will be back to show you the final look with this beautiful NARS Afterglow palette. Okay, I will be back in just a few minutes. Okay guys, I'm back. I went ahead and I put on some mascara. I put on a little bit of dark Urban Decay liner on the waterline on the top eyelid, and I put on some lipstick and some blush, and so this is the final look. I'm going to go ahead and zoom you in so you can see the eyes, and then I'll give you my thoughts. Okay, so here's the eyes. All right, so here are my final thoughts. Okay, you guys, so here are my final thoughts on the NARS Afterglow palette. I think this is a beautiful palette. With that being said, there's a few performance issues, I think. Some of the shimmer shades, like this one, it's pretty, but it's more subtle than I would have thought. If you can see it right there, it's much more subtle. This shade is really pretty as well. Again, it doesn't give the, you know, the ba-bam look that you're looking for when you're looking to use a shimmer shade and really accentuate the middle of the eyelid and make the eye look bigger. You usually want to have something that's just a little more bright and not as subtle. I didn't have a bunch of fallout. Actually, I had like a tiny bit of fallout on just this one shade right here. I did end up popping that shade on the center of my eyelid as well. I think it's a super beautiful palette. I mean, I love this warmth. I think it's going to be gorgeous for the summertime. You know, you can warm it up with a peachy shade. You can warm it up with a pink shade. But, you know, it's $59. The Huda Beauty palette, the Huda Beauty Rose Gold palette is gorgeous. It's $65. It has 18 shades, okay? I think the performance of this is gorgeous. And while they may not look exactly alike, there are some colors that I believe that are similar enough that you can do pretty much the same eye look with. So I'm going to show you here. I've got NARS on this side. This is NARS. This is the highlight shade for, wow, this is hard, for this is the highlight shade for the NARS, and this is Huda Beauty here. This is another shade of NARS, Huda Beauty. I'm sorry, Huda Beauty and NARS. These two are not alike at all, so you can scratch that. But this is also much like, which is part of the Huda Beauty palette, like the NARS and the other Huda Beauty color. This is Huda Beauty and NARS. Huda Beauty, NARS in the middle, and Huda Beauty on the outside. I didn't swatch all of them. I just swatched the ones I felt mostly looked alike. I'll just do one more for you. This is the NARS, and this is the gold shadow that they have in here, which looks a little more orangey on camera. And then this is the Huda Beauty Rose Gold palette, which they are different colors, so you can't, I mean, I think they're similar enough that you could get a similar enough look, you know, using that palette if you already have that palette. Do I feel like you need to run out and buy the NARS palette? I don't feel like you need to run out and buy the NARS palette. As a matter of fact, I was going to review the NARS blush palette, the new NARS blush palette, Overlust. I have it right here, but I used it once and I was grossly disappointed in it. I don't think this is worth $59. I mean, I'll show you. Some of the things I found wrong with it were this. The very reason that you would buy a highlighter is because you really want it to act like a highlighter. It doesn't have to be an in-your-face highlighter, but it should give something highlighting, right? So this looks pretty on the finger, but it essentially does. I'm going to zoom you in. It's like too dull to be a highlighter. It just doesn't, maybe on lighter skin, but I'm like digging into this. And again, it looks wet on the finger, but when I apply it, it really doesn't look like a highlight. I felt like the same thing with all of them. It's like, wow, they weren't really that amazing, you know, as well as the blushes. I'm gonna, here are two of the blushes on my pinky and my little finger here, and I honestly, here's one of the blushes, which it's okay, but it's nothing like to write home about. And this is another one, which is more pigmented than that one. And then this one's, I mean, it's pretty. They're pretty, the blushes, but I just feel like for $59 that they're not different enough, and you must have these in your collection somewhere. You have to have these somewhere. I know you do. I know that you don't have to pay $59 for this to get the same look with other blushes. I don't think they're that different. As a matter of fact, some of those colors are close and even not as pretty as the colors that I have in my Sephora palette. My Sephora Pro palette. I mean, here, bam, you know, beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Oh, I have the protector over it and it's killing you guys, I know. Let me see. Gorgeous. Look at that. Beautiful. I mean, those are close to the same colors in the palette, and you get a much bigger palette size, more product for less money. And then this one. The color payoff in these is terrific. Gosh, I don't know why I'm having a problem with orientation today, but that's me. So the color payoff is gorgeous. These colors are, I mean, they're close to what this NARS palette. If I were you, I would go out and buy the Sephora Pro palettes, especially when they have their 20% off. I forget how much they are, but I love these palettes. I super love these palettes. There's so much to choose from. I think the colors are gorgeous. I would stick to this one. You know, the makeup companies I think are great. You know, who doesn't love makeup? And they are, you know, the makeup is gorgeous. But when you're coming up with something that's really substandard for a really high amount of money that isn't that great, you have to question whether you have it at home or not. And then, you know, when I take some of these home and I play with them, it's like, not that great. So, just my opinion. Somebody else might love them. I mean, I know a gal who has really light pale skin, and these probably look gorgeous on her, and they're more illuminating. And I would say somebody with lighter, pale skin might do, I mean, this might be a great palette for them. I don't know. I like this palette, but again, I feel like if you have the Huda Beauty Rose Gold palette, yes, some colors that are similar enough in there that you might be able to do a look that's very similar to the Huda Beauty Rose Gold. So, those are my final thoughts regarding this palette, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would consider subscribing, I would really appreciate it. Also, if you could ring the bell, that will notify you when I upload another video. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment box below, and I will be sure to get a hold of you. And I'm so grateful for you coming to my channel. I'm so grateful for you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.